Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are watching this from. I'm SR Silcox, author of Lesfic for Tweens, Teens and Adults. I'm coming to you from sunny Queensland, and today you find me in my audio tent where I record the Alice Henderson series podcast, and I'm about to get started on recording some of my adult fiction into audiobooks. I'm really excited to be part of the Indie Author Weekend put on by the Rainbow Literary Society. Today I'm reading to you from my Lesfic book, Amy's Rest. It's about two women who are dealing with different types of grief in their own way. Georgia's lost her longtime partner, Amy, and she's headed to Elizabeth Creek to renovate an old cottage that Amy bought in order to sell it and move on from the death. And Zoe, the builder that is contracted to do the renovations for Georgia, she lost her parents 20 years prior, but and while that still stings her, she's actually grieving the life that she thought she would have before her parents died. So it's an interesting combination between the two of them, and obviously they teach each other a lot throughout the book. The part that I'll be reading to you today is the aftermath of an awkward, almost first kiss between the two characters. Zoe obviously has some feelings about that, and she talks to her sister-in-law Molly about her almost first kiss with her client, Georgia. By the time they arrived at Molly and Jack's house, Zoe had calmed down. Georgia had maintained most of the conversation on the drive, thankfully, asking questions Zoe could answer without making a fool of herself. Questions like whether Zoe grew up in Elizabeth Creek and where she went to school. Things Zoe already knew the answers to without having to think too hard. Georgia jumped down from the ute before Zoe had a chance to open her door and said how impressed she was with the house. It's based on some old Queenslander designs Jack found in the library years ago, Zoe explained. Built it himself with Dad's help. They walked around the side of the house to the back, where Ryan and Josie were chasing each other around the yard with Nerf guns. Zoe led Georgia across the back deck and inside to the kitchen, where Molly gave Georgia a hug, gushed over her dress, and gave Zoe the side-eye and a quick up-and-down glance at what she was wearing. Normally she'd wear a pair of old jeans and a t-shirt, but today she was wearing a button-down shirt and a good pair of jeans she normally reserved for special occasions. As she hugged Zoe, Molly whispered into her ear, "No need to ask why you're so dressed up." Zoe turned her head away, feeling the prickle of heat creeping up her neck. "I always dress nice for Sunday lunch." "Yes, but you don't always iron," Molly joked, poking Zoe on the shoulder. She turned to Georgia. "You go on outside with the boys. I need Zoe to help me in the kitchen." "Are you sure I can't give you a hand with anything?" Georgia asked. But Molly swatted her outside. "You're our guest. Go and get Jack to get you a cold drink." Georgia smiled at Zoe, making Zoe's heart skip a beat, and then headed outside. As soon as she was gone, Molly grabbed Zoe by the arm and dragged her into the hallway. "What on earth is going on? And don't you dare tell me nothing, because look at you!" Zoe knew she may as well fess up, because Molly would pull it out of her eventually. "Georgia kissed me." "What? You two kissed?" Molly asked, mouth agape. "Shh," Zoe said, peeking around the corner to make sure no one was listening. "We didn't kiss, she kissed me." "How is that different?" "Last night, as I was leaving her room—" "Oh my God, you were in her room, Zoe? Jack's going to kill you." "You were the one hinting at me having dinner with her," Zoe said. "Dinner, Zoe, not sex." "Shh, we didn't—" Zoe lowered her voice to a whisper. "Will you just let me talk?" "Sorry," Molly said, and then stood and crossed her arms. If Zoe made her wait any longer, Molly might even start tapping her foot. "I dropped her home after we finished at the workshop and she invited me in. We ate your spaghetti and we talked. That's it." "Talked about what?" "Stuff. And then when I left, she kissed me." "On the mouth?" Zoe nodded. "But I'm not sure she meant to." "You're not making any sense." Zoe had replayed the last night over and over in her head so many times, it was hard to know what was real anymore. "I turned my head and our lips sort of just—" She pushed the palms of her hands together in an attempt to explain. "Smooshed." "Smooshed?" "Smooshed," Zoe confirmed. "That's it?" Molly asked. Zoe's shoulders sagged. "I knew I was reading too much into it." She went to walk back to the kitchen, but Molly grabbed her arm and pulled her back. "Did you ask her about it?" Molly asked. "Of course I bloody didn't. I'm not an idiot," Zoe said. "Look, can we just have lunch?" "You obviously like her, judging by how much effort you went to today," Molly said, waving her arms over Zoe like she was a prize on a game show. When Zoe didn't answer her, Molly pressed, "Don't you?" Zoe hadn't realised it was a question. "She's all right, I suppose," she admitted to Molly. It was the first time she'd admitted it to herself. There was a noise in the kitchen and they both froze. Molly peered around the door and Zoe peered around Molly. It was Nick, rifling through a drawer. They waited for a moment and finally he found what he was looking for, a bottle opener, and walked out. Molly turned back to Zoe. "You don't tell Jack about this. You know what Jack thinks about you fraternising with clients." "She gets me, remember?" Zoe said. "And anyway, this is different." Zoe waited for the inevitable warning that she thought was coming, but it never did. Instead, Molly pointed her finger and said, "Just be careful. I don't want to see you getting your heart broken all over again." "But you were encouraging it," Zoe said, frowning. Molly waved her away. "I thought a little fling might do you good." "I don't do flings," Zoe replied. "I know," she said, a look of concern clouding her face. Then she shook her head. "Just don't be stupid about it." "Like I said, there's nothing happening," Zoe countered. "Not yet," Molly said, and pulled Zoe back out to the kitchen. Thanks for listening to my reading, and I will catch you in the Facebook group. I can't wait to answer some of your questions and catch up with some of my indie author mates. I'll see you later.